It's the Carter Man. I just got back from a doctor's appointment. That's why I'm dressed so casual. And actually, the way I'm dressed may make me sound a little hypocritical, because what I'm about to say, it may sound like the pot calling the kettle black, but actually it's not if you stop to think about it. So just let me move into it. Then you make up your own mind about that. I want to talk about the decline of the United States and indicators. A couple indicators, okay? And one of the primary indicators is this vote or declaration by the Senate and the House that they would no longer have a dress code, that they would prefer to cater to a functional idiot like John Fetterman, who I think was elected in a stolen election in Pennsylvania, since I'm in Pennsylvania and I know the number of hundreds of thousands of illegal votes cast. Illegal because they were mail-in ballots with no signature verification, which is against the law in Pennsylvania. But the governor overrode it to help defeat President Trump and put this functional idiot in the U.S. Senate, who goes on the Senate floor in a obviously filthy sweatshirt and a pair of ill-fitting dollar store gym shorts. Now, let me say, I'm wearing a sweatshirt that's not ill-fitting. I got it on Amazon. And I have shorts that I bought at dollar store. They're a good deal. But I'm not in the United States Senate. Okay? And if I were, I would expect someone to get me aside and say, would you mind dressing appropriately? You're not only representing the American people, and this is part of the decline, the very fact that they would cater to this functional idiot and tell everybody else, come on in, dress like street thugs and clowns, is just appalling. Part of the decline, the point I'm making here, nobody got him aside and said, John, read my lips. I know you have trouble understanding things, but this is not how we dress. We are representing the American people and over 240 years of history in this chamber, okay? Some of the greatest people in history, our past elected officials, knew about the decorum of this body and respected it, and we expect you to do the same. Do you understand, John? Go change your clothes. That's what should have been said instead of Schumer. Well, now we're all going to dress like John. Disgusting people. But it's part of the decline. Let me tell you another little sign of the decline. Signs of the decline we're talking about today. The greeting by McConnell and Schumer of the little rat-faced grifter dictator of Ukraine, Zelensky. Of course, they pledged more of our taxpayer money. We've spent, $100 billion so far. Minimum. If they were telling the truth, it's probably closer to $200 or $300 billion. But of course, they never tell the truth in the U.S. government anymore. Another sign of the decline. We sent all that money over there. We know he's stolen hundreds of millions himself, because our CIA director, in a rare moment of candor, admitted it and tried to talk to him about it. Could you steal a little less? I know you keep buying mansions. You just bought his latest multi-million-dollar mansion, Zelensky did in Alexandria, Egypt. But here you had McConnell and Schumer telling him, we're going to send you more taxpayer money. Don't you worry. We're here with your hand out, you little grifter. And they told him, we're going to send you more money. And Schumer, I'm sure you've seen the video, bowed down to him. Bowed down to that vile little midget. I can't think of any American leader of the past who would have done such a despicable thing. And we know Obama bowed down to the king of Saudi Arabia years ago, but he's a Muslim, and so he was doing what they do with each other. But disgraceful. But the bowing down by Schumer and the standing there who looked like little lovelorn 14-year-old Schumer and McConnell did with this vile little rat. Sign of the decline. Sign of the decline. The American people do not support that. American people do not support this war that Biden and Zelensky have launched by violating the Minsk agreements. They have supported this war, and to the extent of costing 430,000 young Ukrainians their lives. And it's clear Zelensky just doesn't give a damn as long as he gets his payoff and his mansions and his glorification by people like Schumer bowing down. Sign of decline. Sign of decline. So, and the crime in America now, open, blatant. Our cities are gone. Folks, if you want to know how bad it is, watch videos from cities like, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Beijing, Managua, let me get it right, Nicaragua. Watch videos from their cities. People happy walking down the streets. Very, very, almost no crime. Nicaragua, by the way, has a lower crime rate than the U.S. Best investment in the Western Hemisphere, by the way. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Buy beach property now. It's just going to continue to skyrocket as more and more people discover that. There's my aside for the day, so I'll let that go. I won't dwell on it. Because they're not in decline there. They're not in decline. They're on the incline. But in our cities, the once undimmed by human tears are now cesspools. And what's the politician's response? Well, in San Francisco, and by Gavin, who wants to run for president, by the way, the response is, isn't this good? We've driven off all the business. I'm not making this up. Now we can use those buildings for Section 8 housing. It's decline. That's decline. Cities that were once beautiful in America, you can't even go into now. You're not safe. I would not, I live in a small city, used to be a garden spot city, York, Pennsylvania. It's cesspool downtown. I tell my wife, don't go. Don't go. Now, fortunately, my wife is Honduran, so if she gets attacked by the thugs, she can hold up her cell phone and say, let me take your picture to send to my cousins in MS-13, and they'll run like hell. She doesn't have any cousins in MS-13, by the way. I'm just telling what she should say. But that's where we are in America, the total decline, all the way across the board. So you say, okay, Carter, you're presenting an awful picture here. What's the solution? It's threefold. One, and I wrote to you about this last week, and I hope a lot of you responded. We need a conservative podcast network to compete head-to-head and defeat every element of the mainstream media, including Fox, which is getting worse and worse all the time, and will get even worse now. Murdoch's retiring, and his woke sons are taking over completely. We need a conservative podcast network, and we need it now. There are alternative media out there which are fantastic, that could be part of the network. The Duran, Megan Show, Judging Freedom is an incredible podcast with Judge Napolitano, much better than he ever was on Fox, where they restricted him. The Cartier family, Officer Tatum, two incredible black podcasts. They're right across the board. Great sportscast now that could be on a podcast network where you could have really great sports analysis. A little secret, I can bring aboard the greatest sports handicapper in sports history, Mike Warren, okay? And when he tells you who to bet on that following weekend, I'm not a gambler, but I'm just telling you, he's pretty darn good and fascinating with his game analysis and player analysis. So there's a lot out there we can do. Number one, we need conservative podcast network. Number two, got to move the conservative movement outside of Washington. It's totally corrupt. And part of it is they're incestual. Conservative Inc. is incestual. They attend the same parties, go to the same restaurants, meet after work at the same bars. They throw each other these galas all the time, this fest and that fest, where they pay each other a lot of money to speak. It's kind of a little racket they got going there. I'll pay you to come to mine next month, and the month after you pay me to... Conservative Inc. we got to move the conservative movement out of Washington. put an end to conservative Inc. altogether. The real conservatives are in what the Washington types consider flyover country, okay? And the third is totally replace the leadership of the Republican Party across the board. Obviously, Ronna McDaniel, the failed, over and over again, failed leader of the RNC, has to go. I wish Mitt would take his little niece with him when he finally leaves, thank God. And we got to replace McCarthy, got to obviously replace McConnell. I mean, come on. Non-compos mentis. You got to get rid of all the octogenarians, by the way. And I say that respectfully since I'm 77, okay? I know these people. Look, most people my age, let me just be honest with you, they have times when they don't know whether they're a poached egg or a potted plant. And it's time to say, you know, we love you and you're smart as you can be, but we need to get a little bit of younger blood in here and some fighters, okay? Fighters who will impeach not just Biden, and let's get on with the McCarthy. Yeah, we're going to consider it. Let's get on with it. Impeach everybody across the board in that administration. Just start, you know, one after another, like the French guillotine. Just get rid of them. All right, we got to do all that and more at yourconservativerightspac.com. We're working on it. So join us, help take the lead, and let's do this thing.